temporal evolution of the PCR and the harmonization of standards for the ASEAN Framework Agreement. The PCR is one of the 8 medical specialty societies of the PMA. It is the 4th oldest medical society as per PMA's record. The oldest is the PCS, which was established in 1936, POGS in 1946, PPS in 1947, and the PCR in 1948. The Philippine College of Radiology started with a magnificent 7. Dr. Paterno Chiquiemco, Dr. Paulino J. Garcia, who also became the Secretary of Health for 2 terms in 1954 and 1965, Dr. Ramon Z. Paterno, Dr. Daniel Ledesma, Dr. Hilario Zialcita, Dr. Carlos Vergel de Dios, Dr. Carlos Marquez. They served as the first presidents of the Philippine Radiological Society, or PRS, the predecessor of the PCR. The PRS existed from 1948 to 1956. Then the Philippine College of Radiology grew into a society, boasting of more than 2,000 members, 4 subspecialty societies, 9 chapters, and 8 new allied subspecialty societies. There are already 4 versions of the Constitution, 2 versions of the Code of Ethics, and the college is continuously changing its policies and guidelines to comply with the ever-changing global demands from the practice of the Filipino radiologist. The Philippine Qualification Net Framework, or PQF, has evolved as well from the pre-mutual ASEAN agreement to the post-MASEAN. Historically, in 1992, the ASEAN heads of government declared that an ASEAN free trade area is to be established in the region. In 1995, they agreed to accelerate its implementation to the year 2003. The objectives of the ASEAN Framework Agreement on Services are to enhance cooperation in services amongst ASEAN member states in order to improve the efficiency and competitiveness, diversify production, capacity, and supply and distribution of services of their suppliers within and outside the ASEAN. In the practice of medicine, the AFAS aims to facilitate mobility of medical practitioners within ASEAN, exchange information, and enhance cooperation in respect of mutual recognition of medical practitioners, promote adoption of best practices on standards and qualifications, and provide opportunities for capacity building and training of medical practitioners. To do this, the different countries need to align their existing policies and guidelines to conform to this agreement, including promotion and qualification frameworks, or QF. What is the QF? It is a system of national standards of qualifications earned by individuals educated and trained in the Philippines. Its objective is to establish national standards and levels of qualifications to assist and support academic and worker mobility and to address job skills mismatch. It outlines what an individual has learned and can do based on qualification type, levels, and degree of competency. Initially, our PQF was nursery, prep school, kinder, grade 1 to 6, first year high school to 4th year high school. After high school, some may go to vocational courses, others will have to take a bachelor's degree, others will take a diploma course. After this tertiary level, they can proceed to medicine and or a master's degree and or PhD, and so on and so forth. After the mutual ASEAN agreement, it was reformulated from levels 1 to 8. That is why we have the K-12. Level 6 is where the general practitioners, or GP, are included. Level 7 is for the diplomate status, example, DPBR. Level 8 for those with fellows status of their respective society, like FPCR. Presently, even for someone with multiple titles of fellow, example, FPCR, FUSP, FCT MRISP, PSVIR, FPROS, they are still under Level 8. However, work is being done by the PRC, PMA, and other stakeholders to come up with subcategories under Level 8 to give more recognition to those with a higher tier, having more titles, more board exams passed, more certifications. In addition, the number and quality of the certifications, titles, and credentials are all visible within this level and will always be part of the record whenever or wherever it will be reviewed. It is interesting to note that the other countries have their own qualification framework as well. There are some minor differences in the numerical level. Example, Thailand has 9 levels, but Malaysia has an identical system with the Philippines having 8 levels. However, the concepts and the descriptors are basically the same across, so as to give importance to the harmonization of the different qualification framework of these countries. The PRC is encouraging all doctors to specialize and subspecialize, as is the trend in the ASEAN region and more so elsewhere. Competitiveness is the key. PCR's attempt to harmonize. The PCR's attempt to harmonize the RTC manual. When the Residence Training Manual of the PCR was published in 2010, it already contained the different goals and competencies for the promotion of the radiology residents in training and has served a major role in the subsequent formulation of policies in training. The manual came into fruition and was strengthened after the official recognition of the PCR RTC through the PCR Constitution of 2012 Article 10. This was a product of the need for a committee to oversee and supervise the residents in training who have initially formed their own group called the Chief Residents Council in 2007. More work was needed to make the PCR Residence Manual align with that of our ASEAN neighbors, who have been using the European standards for their frameworks in education, training, and promotions. In 2020, the European Society of Radiology released its ESR Training Manual or European Training Curriculum for Radiology for Junior and Residents and Senior Residents in Training and for Fellows in Training as well. The ETC defines the contents of training and expected learning outcomes of trainees in radiology. Its goal is to achieve, throughout all European countries, a standardized system of education in the field of radiology, which will enhance the quality of radiological care for patients. Thus, the PCR RTC used this as a reference, adopted and modified it for the Philippine setting, and eventually produced a revised PCR Residency Training Manual. The resource material contains the essentials needed to successfully complete the PCR Radiology Training Program. It contains expected knowledge, attitude, competencies, and skills for the practice of radiology. The PCR's attempt to harmonize system organ-based approach. In 2013, the PCR created a committee to look into system-based or organ-based groups to serve as a nidus in the subsequent development of new societies similar to the ASEAN countries and those outside of the ASEAN. These groups are to identify and recruit radiologists with special trainings here and or abroad, or who have special interests pertinent to these system organ-based groups. With their creation, the PCR will also have a pool of resource speakers who will train the rest of the members and even the residents and slowly introduce this system of education and training into the college and to our members and eventually adapt it to the Philippine setting. It was in 2018 that the officers of the special interest groups were then inducted into the PCR and formal recruitment of members ensued. These new special interest groups are to work hand in hand with the existing PMA-recognized modality-based subspecialty societies of the PCR. In 2022, the special interest groups were now renamed New Allied Subspecialty Societies through the SEC-approved newly amended PCR bylaws of 2012 under Article 11, titled Subspecialty and New Allied Subspecialty Societies. Not yet subspecialty societies, since as per Committee on Professional Specialization or CPS of the PMA, for a society to be a recognized subspecialty society, it has to fulfill the 8 requirements set by the committee. And this process is still going on as we speak. This is a concerted effort for the new Allied Subspecialty Interest Group's Board of Trustees, its members, and the rest of the PCR members. With these above statements, the PCR, PRC, and PMA are repeatedly recommending the following: a call to specialize, go into residency training and pass the respective board exam; a call to subspecialize, train in a fellowship program and be a fellow of the society; a call to subspecialize more, take more fellowship programs, pass the board exams, and be a fellow again; a call to take more certifications and train further. PCR's attempt to harmonize Philippine Board of Radiology. The amended 2012 PCR Constitution likewise created the expanded Philippine Board of Radiology or EPBR via Article 13, which is in consonance with the Article 6 of the proposed Physicians Act by the PMA and by the Senate on Postgraduate Medical Education Council or PGMEC under the Professional Regulatory Board of Medicine or PRBM. That is why it is also the objective of the PCR to call out to the board-eligible doctors, those who have not yet passed the PBR exams, to encourage them to retake the boards, to assist them in any way we can, and to provide them with available resources and materials in the hope that they eventually make it and be included in our prestigious fold. PCR's attempt to harmonize intra-agency PhilHealth. The Universal Healthcare Act has been pushed by the government and is heavily dependent on the PhilHealth. Thus, the Philippine College of Radiology has been consistently and persistently attending and sending representatives in its every meeting where we are invited, especially in cancer care, which is the primary and foremost concern of the Philippine government. The PCR attempts to always have proper representations in those meetings so that the appropriate radiological procedures will be included in the PhilHealth packages, whether it be in cancer imaging, therapy, intervention, or non-cancer imaging, therapy, intervention. We have to take note that those persons attending the PHIC meetings are not always medical doctors, nor knowledgeable with the practice of radiology, thus the needed presence of the PCR representatives. The PCR's attempt to harmonize intra-agency PRC. Similarly, we have been attending the Philippine Regulatory Commission since they have also been trying to harmonize their policies with the ASEAN countries in consonance with the ASEAN agreement. PCR has also been consistently attending these meetings and has been consulted many times that concern issues like 1. Foreign medical trainees applying for medical residency or fellowship training in the Philippines and vice versa. For Philippine trainees applying abroad. 2. Its CPD programs, revisions, requirements, and deadlines. 3. The Espesyalista para sa Bayan program. The PCR's attempt to harmonize intra-agency PMA-DAP. The PMA and the DAP has also invited the PCR several times in consultation regarding our teleradiology technical guidelines, ethics, and regulatory policies. PCR's attempt to harmonize intra-agency FDA. The FDA-DOH has been in constant communication with the PCR regarding the harmonization of its policies with the ASEAN neighbors. The agency has consulted us regarding the registration and regulation of medical devices including AI and licensing of medical imaging institutions. The PCR has communicated to them several times regarding suggestions on the proposed requirements for the licensing of the medical imaging facilities and have reported to the agency some centers that have deviations against the policies of the agency. The PCR's attempt to harmonize interagency plans for the future. The PCR plans to collaborate more with other agencies and with more agencies. We plan to increase visibility and attendance in these meetings. We intend to make the practice of radiology more relevant, and we intend to make the practice of radiology known to all stakeholders.